Welcome viewers to Historical Journeys. It's 1998, and a few laborers in London are caught up with revamping a beguiling Georgian house not far off from the waterway Thames in the core of London. He makes a shocking discovery while one of them is working in the basement. Bones of humans, police are called. However, investigation later shows that they are 200 years of age. Yet, what's truly surprising is the personality of the one who resided in this house 2 centuries prior, Benjamin Franklin. Antiquarians were frozen when they found one principal architect's cellar loaded up with human bones. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It only takes a second, and you won't miss any of our future videos. Let's get started. The property we're discussing is on a porch of beguiling 4-story block fabricated homes. The listing is based not only on the architectural merit of number 36, but also on the fact that Benjamin Franklin lived there for 18 years, making it the highest conservation status a building in England can achieve. He invested that energy in London as a significant negotiator connecting the settlement of Pennsylvania with England. As a matter of fact, Franklin's most memorable visit to London came as soon as 1724, when he cruised across the Atlantic to audition his vocation in printing. Truth be told, from that year until 1775, he spent only a year and a half in the American settlements, so the associations between 36 Timid Road and Franklin are solid. When Franklin moved there for the first time in 1757, the house on the 4th floor with a basement was relatively new. Stevenson had a nearby connection with Franklin, since she was the mother by marriage of his old buddy, William Musin. The house was worked with wooden framing, and a large number of the rooms and 4 stories were over the ground with the cellar underneath. Franklin just leased piece of the structure and appears to have been very content with his London home. The area of the house was unquestionably advantageous for Franklin with all the political business he had with the English government. As we've seen, Franklin just leased piece of the property, and it had been worked with the expectation that it would be leased to tenants. This utilization went on until the Second Great War. Like much of London during World War II, 36 Craven Street was bombed, but Carolyn Batch, Franklin's great-great-granddaughter, and a number of American institutions that were interested in the great man made up for it. These last option incorporated the Franklin establishment of Philadelphia and the authentic culture of Pennsylvania. Afterward, a gathering called the English Society for Worldwide Figuring Out involved the structure for a period. As per an article in Nature magazine, the general public was a foundation shaped in 1939 to advance among the English nation, a real grasping about different countries. In 2006, the overseer of the Franklin Historical Center, Marcia Bala Chinalt, told American Legacy, "I generally need to coax out what's reality and what's legend." The notion that the society served as a CIA front is one of the legends that cannot be proven. The knight in sparkling protection that showed up to save the Timid Road home from breakdown was a gathering driven by Mary Noblewoman of Bessborough and called the Companions of Benjamin Franklin House. The as per a 2003 article in English paper, The Gatekeeper, the salvage came without a moment to spare. The story noticed that the house had been near the very edge of rocking breakdown. In 1989, the English government gave the freehold of Franklin's old home to the Companions. That implied the association could now do some serious gathering pledges to re-establish the property to its previous magnificence completely. This the Companion prevailed with regards to doing, and the property turned into the Benjamin Franklin Historical Center opening on January 17, 2006, which was the day of Franklin's 300th birthday celebration. The restorers of the tumble-down house had put forth careful attempts to re-establish the property similarly as it had been when Franklin had resided there. Copying 18th century practice mortar was produced using goat hair, lime, and mortar, where new wood was required. It was rescued from an 18th century working in the city of Shower. The Companions of Benjamin Franklin House had supervised a profoundly fruitful reclamation of number 36. Rather, it was an occurrence not long after work on the house had begun in 1998 that had gotten the titles. A horrifying disclosure in the faint-hearted road home's cellar had gotten the creative mind of writers and the public the same. The approximately 1 month after work at number 36 began. One of the reclamation group, Jim Field, was working in a cellar room. It had no windows and was located beneath the house's garden. At the highest point of this filled-in opening, a huge bone was effectively noticeable. It immediately turned out to be obvious to Field that this bone was a human femur. A call to the police eventually led to the recovery of approximately 1,200 bone fragments from the pit. That is a ton of dead individuals evidently hid in the cellar of a house. The next step was to find out how long these human remains had been in the basement of 36 Craven Street. The coroner in charge of investigating unnatural deaths quickly concluded that the bones were more than 100 years old. However, the fact that the bones were too old to trigger a contemporary homicide case did not explain why they were buried in this pit 36 years ago. Craven has committed numerous murders in a row at work. A couple of months after the fact, more human bones were found as well as different creature bones, including those of fish, birds, and canines. Peculiarly, the scientists likewise tracked down the remaining parts of a turtle. The preparation of this pet, which was originally located in the garden of 36 Craven Street, was meticulous. An article in the Paleohistory Worldwide Diary portrayed it expressing it was clearly a painstakingly built entombment pit in which layers of blended human and creature remains ceramics, dish sets, and other material were mixed with spreads of slaked lime and earth. So was this crafted by a devilish lawbreaker engineer? Also, considering that he'd lived there for such countless years, might this horrendous monster at any point be connected in any capacity to Benjamin Franklin? We've seen that the coroner had previously settled that the bones were extremely old. Be that as it may, to attempt to figure out more about the beginning of the human remaining parts, more exact dating was fundamental. Dr. Simon Hilson of the Foundation of Antiquarianism at College School London currently analyzed the issues that remains to be worked out and decide their age. The end, they were around 200 years of age, a dating which implied that they might have been covered at the time Franklin inhabited the house. So did the prominent American fiddle with mass homicide, as well as governmental issues and science. Dr. Hilson tracked down a lot of proof to show that the bones dated from the hour of Franklin's presence in London. But he also found an explanation for why those bones were there that didn't point to Franklin or anyone else killing anyone. This clarification for the presence of those human remaining parts held tight the exercises of Franklin's companion, whom we referenced before, Hewson. Hewson had been an understudy of life systems in London at a school run by William Tracker and had proceeded with his examinations in the Scottish capital, Edinburgh. Hewson obviously needed a place to set up an anatomy school. It so happened that his mother by marriage in the house, which was obviously the property at 36 Fearful Road, as we probably are aware. That is the very house in which Franklin resided, and Hewson concluded it would be only a spot to set up his new foundation. Hewson's anatomy school also moved to number 36 at the same time that Franklin did. Presently, assuming you will show life structures, perhaps of the best method for doing it is to exhibit the better places of the art by analyzing genuine human dead bodies. Be that as it may, in mid-18th century England, in spite of the fact that analyzation was normal enough, how the bodies for this were gotten was an exceptionally dim undertaking. Resurrectionists were a distinct group of men who specialized in providing cat lovers for dissection. What's more, as we referenced prior, or 36 Fearful Street is only a couple of moments' stroll from the banks of the waterway, which would have been helpful for Hewson. Since Hewson was probably going to have been acquiring his analyzation subjects from exceptionally sketchy sources, it followed that he would have expected to discard the remaining parts of the feline darlings carefully, and were more advantageous than his own back garden. At the point when the cadaver pit was dug, it was in the nursery of number 36 in a space that was covered by a later expansion of the house. How sure might we at any point be that the human remaining parts found at Franklin's London home really started from Hewson's Life Systems School? As a matter of fact, specialists have uncovered a great measure of proof that this was the case, leaving principal architect Franklin liberated from the allegation of being a chronic executioner. American loyalists will be feeling significantly better to hear. The realities have been marshaled by analysts at College School London's Organization of Paleohistory. They found that, as a rule, the bones had been cut in manners that showed the hand of a talented anatomist participated in an analyzation. These are the exemplary cuts utilized in planning examples for life systems classes. One more convincing piece of proof came from the turtle remains we referenced before. Part of a turtle spine was found in the entombment pit, and neighboring that were a few hints of mercury. Hewson was notable for research he did into the lymphatic framework. He directed a portion of the exploration on turtles, infusing mercury into their safe frameworks to follow the manner in which it streamed. Meld and some of the time involved vermilion color for a similar reason, and a portion of this substance was tracked down during the bones of a canine from the pit. So we have proof of color and mercury used to follow the ways of lymphatic frameworks in creatures, combined with the carefully exact cuts on the human bones. All of these things add up to strong evidence that Houston and his anatomy school are connected to the remains found in the basement of Craven Street. Franklin could well have understood what Houston was doing with his unlawfully acquired human bodies, yet he surely didn't kill the appalling proprietors. Franklin could have been on the outskirts of a few rather suspect exercises that happened at 36 Cowardly Road. However, all things considered, Hewson wasn't exactly a lawbreaker. He was roused by the quest for logical information. He cut himself and in this way passed on from blood harming. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay updated with our latest videos, subscribing is the way to go. Just click that red button below and become a part of our channel family.